Hey, what's going on, family? Today's going to be a particular kind of video, specifically reaching out to one of my viewers slash subscribers that goes by the name of SwitchUpBroadcast. And he asked me the question, well, I guess didn't really ask the question, but brought up the point about a utility and using mono. And so his comment was, don't take my word for it, but I think using the utility for the low-end mono just takes the left channel and uses that, whereas other plugins actually sum the left and right and monos that. Just something I heard somewhere. Great tut, thanks. So before I go any further, him and I had a brief conversation on my YouTube channel, and we thought that it would be a good idea to explore what a utility really does. So I have a couple of examples that will demonstrate how these kinds of things work. And even though I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, we can at least kind of take a look at what's going on in regards to looking at phase via checking out with an imager. Now, I'm not going to say that this is necessarily the most accurate response, and I'm not going to be the most scientific about this kind of thing. And to be honest, some people don't even really know why this is important in the first place. But just stick around and I'll get to that, and we will kind of explore, well, what the heck a utility really does. So typically speaking, within an older utility, what would happen if we wanted to solo this was we would actually either take one of the left channels or the right channels, because what happens is it takes one of those sides and basically forces it between both ears. So on this particular sound that I've made, it's just kind of like a basic Reese. I have an audio effect rack that has both the right channel and the left channel, and each of these have different effects applied to them. I'm both going to turn those off. And if we play this right now, it should be in stereo. And as you can see, it's kind of oscillating all over the place. So theoretically, if I were to put this in mono, then that means that it would only take one of the channels. And what our experiment that we're doing is each channel has a different effect applied to each side. So on our right channel, we have an erosion, which you can see, and then on our left channel we have a chorus. And you can tell that these are kind of going in between each one when they're being played individually, and together with both of the effects turned on, you can see that it creates this shape. So the input channel for the left and right are a little bit different, but what happens if we put this in mono? Because that's what we really want to figure out anyways. So here is our oscillation, or our phase drift rather, and then if we put it in mono, you can hear that we have both. So technically speaking, I believe that the utility actually does take the sum of both the left and right channel and kind of forces it into one. And there's a creative aspect to that as well. But to further experiment, since we have an ozone imager up here, I'd like to explore what happens if we do the same thing. So if I'm going here, and we have this, and I hit the mono button, it sounds exactly the same. So theoretically, utility should be a useful tool for wanting to put things in mono. And furthermore, the utility itself also has a mid-side mode if you right click, and then it also has bass mono, which is also pretty cool, and it even has this thing that you can kind of listen in on what you're actually hearing for those frequencies of that threshold. Alright, so why would I even want to do this? Why would I want to put mono or stereo in the first place, for those of you guys who might be wondering? Well, the short answer is that primarily it's for mixing. For the most part, you generally want your sub to be in mono, because if it drifts, then you get phase cancellation, and that basically creates silence, and you don't really want that. You want a consistent sound within your sub. Or do you? So if we understand phase cancellation, which honestly a lot of Reeses react that way, then we might actually be able to accentuate some of that phasing and create cool movement via doing this in mono. So here I have 3 instances of Serum, that are all different respaces. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to solo each one with each of these in mono and A-B them, and I want you to kind of pay attention to some of the differences that you might hear. First up here we have square wave. I'll go ahead and play that in stereo. Now once I play this in mono, let's see how that sounds. One thing that I noticed is the sound has more phasing introduced into it, and what that means is generally it's actually not as loud, at least for this particular sound. But what I want you guys to pay attention to is how clear is the movement. Does that make sense? How clear is it? Does it sound like there's an LFO on this? I think that because everything is in one channel now, it's easier to distinguish that the phase cancellation is more prominent, and that will end up being useful to us. So further demonstrate, let's go ahead and try this with our sine respace. So without mono and in mono. And if you pay attention to the leveling here, you can see that the volume is automating, or I guess the phase is automating the volume a little bit more prominently. Okay, so finally we have our saw wave, and this one will be the most obvious. If we have two detuned saw waves and they're both playing off of each other, take a listen to how this sounds. But if I throw this in mono, suddenly the entire dynamic of the sound changes, and that can be something that is useful to us when we're trying to create these kinds of basses. So the last thing that I want to take a look at in regards going back to mixing, aside from creative choices, is this bass that I made a while ago. I think it was from like September of last year. So let's go ahead and have a quick listen to this. There is a little bit of stereo introduced because of the high-end movement in this, but what I want you to kind of look at is try to notice the subtle differences between the left and right channel. I'm going to try to pull this out a little bit more. So if you look right here, I know that these look very similar, but they are not identical. For example, there is a bigger dip right here versus this one. There's some more harmonics on the left channel as opposed to right here. Same thing for this area right here and this area right here. And again, like I said, these are subtle, but sometimes when you are making these kinds of basses, your left and right channel are different. And that might be something that's good for you, or that might be something that you might want to bounce to mono. So, you know, in regards to mixing, these are kind of a couple of things to keep in mind. But yeah, thank you so much to SwitchUpBroadcast for inquiring about different kinds of questions. I like to do videos where people ask questions and then I can see if I can troubleshoot them or not. Some of the best advice I've ever been given is it's okay to admit that you don't know. And to be honest, when he asked this, I didn't know. So, you know, we all learned something. That being said, hopefully this video was interesting to you guys and you have a little bit better understanding about how phase works. I know that I didn't get so much into the scientific thing, but hopefully your ears and your eyes will kind of reveal to you a little bit more about this kind of thing. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and happy producing. Oh, yo, before I forget, check it out, man. I finally hit 100 subscribers. I started this YouTube channel, I think, back in August. And so, you know, it took a few months to get there, but it's finally building now. So if you are one of those subscribers, or even if you're a viewer that gave me a thumbs up, I just want to personally say thank you so much for watching my content, and I got a ton more stuff coming for you. Thank you guys. Take care.